A lot of business owners have a cash problem and they don't even realize it. Not because they have too little cash, but because they're holding on to too much. I see it all the time. And I get it. Here's a real example. I was on the phone with a client recently. He's 58 years old. He's a contractor, been in business for himself for going on 30 years. And we get to talking, and he had about $650,000 just sitting in cash in a savings account. So I asked him, why are you holding on to so much cash? And he didn't really have a good answer. He pretty much said, I'm not really sure. I've just put money in over time, and it's built and it's built. And I guess I never really sat down to think, why am I holding on to this amount of cash? And I get it. Cash feels safe. It just sits there. You see it every single day. It doesn't go down. There's no fluctuation. It just slowly builds and builds over time, especially if you're a successful business owner. Cash does give you a peace of mind. And if you're in business for yourself, that is definitely something that you want to have. The other part is you're focused on running your actual business. And that's where your energy is well spent. So you probably don't spend enough time asking these two questions. How much cash do I actually need to be holding? And what should I be doing with the rest of the cash that I've accumulated? Not asking those questions is when holding too much cash can really start to work against you. Let me give you a quick example. Let's just say, for argument's sake, you have $500,000 sitting in a savings account in the bank. And you need to hold on to a certain level of cash, 100% without a doubt. We all need that safety net, especially when we're in business for ourselves. But let's think about it for a second. Let's say your monthly living expenses are $15,000 per month, okay? So if you want to have a cash buffer of 6 months of your living expenses, it's $90,000. 1 year of your living expenses is $180,000. Everyone's comfort level comes in at a different place. 3 months, 6 months, a year. Very rare that I feel you should have much more than 1 year's cash sitting there idle. So also depends on your business, how predictable your revenues are, how long you've been in business, and a lot of other factors. But the bottom line is, everyone should have a specific number that they're comfortable holding on to on the sidelines. So let's just say that you're comfortable with 1 year of your living expenses sitting in cash. That's $180,000. Pretty much means if you made $0 for the next 12 months, your life would go on as normal. Let's just call it $200,000. But you have $500,000 sitting in cash. That's $300,000 more above your comfort level. It's almost 3 years of being completely out of work, and you can still pay your bills every single month. To me, that's pretty excessive. And the reason why, as I said, is because over time you stack your cash and never really come up with a plan or a game plan of what you should be doing with that excess money that you have. And another thing to realize, you have your safety net sitting there, we'll call it $200,000. That $300,000 you think you're not losing because you see it and never fluctuates down. But we know that you're losing purchasing power every single year. We know what things cost 20 years ago costs much more today, and in 10 and 20 years from now is going to cost a lot more than it does today. Inflation, long run average, has been, let's say, about 3% a year. So if you have $300,000 excess sitting there, in that first year, you're actually losing $9,000 because things are getting more expensive. And you might not see it, it's silent, you don't realize it, but that is the reality of holding on to cash and what inflation does to your purchasing power. A few things to ask yourself. What is the probability or the chance that you will ever need all of your cash at one point in time? All of that $500,000, you're gonna need it all at once. Even money that's invested in the market, it's liquid. You can touch it if you really had to. The second thing that you should realize as well is that extra money sitting in cash, that $300,000, right? You have $500,000, we want $200,000 sitting there for our 1 year of living expenses. That $300,000 could be the difference between you hitting your goals and taking a lot longer for you to get there. Because money sitting idle can't compare to money that's compounding year after year after year. And as I always say, money is just a tool. And your job is to use that tool in the best way possible. The objective is not just to stack cash and build as much money as possible. It's to figure out a game plan and get to a level where work now becomes optional and you work strictly on your own terms, whether you want to work or getting to the point where you don't have to work anymore. And holding on to too much cash can really become a problem if you're trying to get to that point. So to sum it up, if you're a business owner, ask yourself two questions. How much money is really necessary for me to be sitting with in cash on the sidelines? And what should I be doing with the rest of the money I've accumulated over time? And I get it, comfort feels good in the short run, but it will hurt you in the long run. And at some point, you want that money to be invested and to work as hard as you did earning that money in the first place. So the question isn't, is cash safe? It's how much is too much to hold on to.